Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Connecting America on the USA Today streaming channels. I'm Jim Rosenfield. We're here at the Sunrise Diner, as we always are, in Roselle Park, New Jersey, alongside Dave Briggs. Kate Sullivan back with us again this week, in from Chicago. Thanks for being here. Alisyn has the day off. Lucky Alisyn.
Lucky Alisyn with the college trip. Nice to have you here from Chicago.
Dave, wonderful to be here. You know, being in a diner is my natural habitat because I have a show called To Dine For. You didn't know this. On PBS, where I dine with visionaries at their favorite restaurant. And there's nothing like a diner. Here we are in New Jersey, the home of the diner.
Well, Alisyn has the Alisyn. It's an omelet.
Yes, I've heard of the Alisyn.
What's your signature dish?
I like a grilled cheese with a slice of tomato, and I also like a vanilla milkshake. But you gotta give me the silver cup with it.
Old
school.
What
I'm saying?
They don't do that anymore.
What?
Like, I really dearly miss that.
Is that true? They don't do that?
It is hard to find. I think with inflation and whatnot.
Chocolate for me, but I
chocolate,
agree about the shake.
Vanilla, yes.
Well, it's wonderful to meet you. This is my first time meeting you, but my last day ever at work because I have $1 billion sitting right here.
You got the Powerball ticket.
Can you go over the promises that
Great
you made?
to meet you both.
Yeah, but before you go,
I
after
owed
you
him
win,
a car.
yeah,
I actually told the woman I bought this from, I'll give you $1 million.
Did you?
And I mean it.
Yes.
I will give her $1 million.
As you should. A little tip.
Alisyn wants drinks. What do you want?
Yeah.
What would you like?
Well, I don't have a car. I haven't had a car in 20 years, so that's the first thing I would buy.
Do you drive?
Okay.
I drive my husband's car.
You drive your husband's car.
Car.
Yes.
Okay. No problem.
Thank
Done.
you.
Done.
Wow, I like you already.
1.3 billion. I'm very generous.
When's the next drawing?
That is tonight.
Tonight. Yeah.
$1.3 billion Powerball jackpot, one of the biggest ever. In case you did not know, sadly for you, I will be taking all of the cash.
Okay.
But please do enter and jack up the
jackpot. Just so you know, we asked whether he would share in the winnings.
Yes.
It could be a group thing here at Connecting America. And Dave said, no way. No,
well,
I'll buy you a car, but you don't get to share in the cash.
To be clear, I love sharing. If everyone puts in $2 and we pool our tickets, I'm for that.
Why didn't you say?
But that's not what happened here, Jim.
Well, that's true.
Okay.
All right.
Team player? Question mark.
Yeah. We're all about team play. All right. Should we jump into the news today?
Let's do that.
President Trump posting about the U.S. military striking a boat allegedly loaded with drugs. This was in the Southern Caribbean. 11 alleged cartel members, dead in that strike. You're looking at video purported to be that boat and the strike. You're going to see it unfold here. This president says this boat departed from Venezuela and was operated by the Tren de Aragua gang. Watch this right there. There it is.
Guys, you just can't say enough about how truly stunning this video is. We've never seen anything like this in American history. And I know these days we don't really notice much because everything is so abnormal.
Yeah, I know.
We have never just wiped human beings off the planet for crimes, albeit crimes, but we have never seen anything like this.
Right. And observers of international law say, carrying drugs on a boat is not a death sentence. Arrest them.
Was there due process? Do we have any proof of?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, we all want to stop the flow of drugs in the United States. I am not comfortable with that process, and I don't know who is.
Yeah, a lot of questions here. Let's go to international correspondent Amy Kellogg, who is live in Milan for us. Amy.
Good morning. There will be a lot of questions asked about exactly how and why this had to go down the way it did, and really what it means, because some people say it could be President Trump throwing some red meat to those in the MAGA camp who feel he's been a little bit too soft on Venezuela. Others are concerned that perhaps this is the beginning of a move towards regime change. But for now, all we know is that it is highly unusual to see such a strike in the Western Hemisphere. This was no warning shot. This is game on. And Trump was pretty quick to brag about it, posting that video on Truth Social, talking about the 11 terrorists who were taken out in international waters on this boat that was allegedly destined for the United States, full of drugs. The Tren de Aragua crime gang, Trump says, operates under the direct control of Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro, and is known for mass murder, for drug trafficking, and sex trafficking. Now, the tension between the U.S. and Venezuela has really been building in recent weeks as the U.S. has sent 8 warships to the Caribbean. And this is with a stated purpose of fighting drugs. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, game over. There will be no more of sort of stop and search and confiscating of drugs. This is serious business now. We haven't heard from the Venezuelan president. His head of media put out a post saying that the video that Trump posted was actually created by artificial intelligence. We know that the Venezuelan president has been extremely nervous about this buildup of the thousands of sailors and Marines who have gone with these warships. And he has basically been hooked on this line that he's been using, aimed at Marco Rubio, in fact, which is that Rubio is leading Trump into a situation where his hands will be, quote, stained with blood. And that appears to be a way of perhaps making Trump nervous about that Nobel Peace Prize that he has been so actively lobbying for.
Amy, I don't know if you brought this up. We were having some communications issues. Maduro is in this position of watching this unfold and talking big at this point, right? Saying, we're prepared. We're ready. Bring it on, President Trump. More about his response to what just happened, if you have more.
Well, he's been talking about Venezuela being prepared for a potential intervention, a military intervention. He's threatened that it would be sort of the bloodiest thing to happen in 100 years, and that he's got troops at the ready, that he's been recruiting, apparently, sort of a citizen militia. I think, it's a funny situation. Well, it's not a funny situation. It's an interesting situation in that some say that President Trump has been quite he's been trying to reach out and have a decent rapport with Maduro, and Maduro has accepted those deportation flights. But on the other hand, there is a $50 million bounty out for the arrest of Maduro, and that's equivalent to what was on Osama bin Laden's head. So he's being equated with one of the most dangerous terrorists of our time. And so there's some mixed messaging, and to the sort of strength of this move, or the whether it was a proportionate move or a just move yesterday to wipe out that boat. One of Trump's former ambassadors from his first term, who was posted in Venezuela, said this was kind of like trying to boil an egg with a blowtorch. So as the sabers rattle and this narco war gets underway, there again will be lots of questions about what is appropriate and what is really underneath it all, and the presence of all these troops now close to Latin America.
And questions about whether this was in fact even legal.
Exactly. That will be discussed at length. And it's interesting to see which periodicals, which newspapers this morning have given it much attention, and which have kind of skirted around even talking about it. I think this is something we'll be hearing about in a pretty heated way over the coming days and weeks.
All right. Amy Kellogg, live from Milan. Thank you very much. The big question, how will Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro react? That is the question. Last month, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced a $50 million reward for information leading to Maduro's arrest. He has been facing formal drug trafficking charges from the Justice Department since 2020. Bondi declared that Maduro is one of the most powerful drug traffickers in the world, which Maduro has denied.
Yeah, he's denied, but there are family members who have been prosecuted for drug crimes. He said, I'm not involved. Obviously, the world is watching to see now what happens next.
Right.
We have this military might there in the Caribbean now. Are they going to go after other vessels that are leaving Venezuela? Where does this go from
process?
Here?
Right.
And there is a common thread to all of this, which is optics. Again, we know you all want to stop the flow of illegal drugs, but this type of strike is not going to stop the illegal flow of drugs in the United States. It's coming from so many different veins, underwater, underground, through the sky, through airplanes. This is about optics. And boy, it is a scary time in which we now reside. No one is standing up for drug lords or drug dealers, certainly not, but there has to be some process involved. It's international law, international waters.
Right. We're just seeing one show of force after another across subjects.
And Venezuela, but Colombia seems to be the epicenter of most of the cocaine crop.
Always has.
Yeah, so
always will be.
Why not a focus there instead? All right, we're going to continue to watch that. Meanwhile, a federal appeals court has ruled against the Trump administration this morning, using an 18th century obscure wartime law to deport Venezuelan migrants from the United States. This is a big one because Trump has used the Alien Enemies Act to deport hundreds of accused Tren de Aragua gang members. This law from 1798 gives the president the authority to remove citizens of an enemy country, but during an invasion or predatory incursion. That's key there in the way the law is written. So in a 2-1 ruling, the judges said there was no evidence of either in this instance, or that the accused gang members were operating on behalf of the Venezuelan government. Not the first time President Trump's been challenged on his use of the Alien Enemies Act. And this case likely to wind up back in the Supreme Court, which already raised questions about how much notice that the migrants have to be given. Again, it was designed to be invoked if the U.S. is actually at war or is being invaded by a foreign nation. So we'll watch that case as well, Dave.
Yeah, another big story this morning. President Trump says he's ready to order federal troops into Chicago to fight crime. The White House posting, quote, at least 54 people were shot in Chicago over the weekend. 8 people were killed. Trump saying to the Illinois governor, quote, Pritzker needs help badly. He just doesn't know it yet. It will solve the crime problem fast, just like I did in D.C. Chicago will be safe again and soon. I can't help but ask you, you come from Chicago, Kate. Do you feel like this is a city under siege right now, or is that just the narrative?
So I moved to Chicago in 2010. Jim, I know you worked in Chicago for many years. I anchored
prior to that,
I anchored the news at CBS in Chicago for 5 years. This kind of Labor Day weekend statistic was the norm. So, people hear 57 people shot and they're up in arms. There was probably twice that on 4th of July. I mean, Chicago does have crime.
And does need help.
But is the answer to that this show of force of bringing in the National Guard? And therein lies the question. Obviously, the mayor and the governor both vehemently saying, no, we don't want the National Guard and we don't need the National Guard. So it's interesting.
And again, optically, the issue here is painting Democrats as being in favor of violent crime and of not stopping it. And that is not what Pritzker, that is not what Wes Moore, that is not what Gavin Newsom is saying. They're just saying there has to be some process. You have to follow federal law. Yeah. This is not allowed by federal law unless you're talking about Washington, D.C. This is going to be a very difficult issue for these blue states.
And in Chicago, one of the crimes was caught on tape over the past Labor Day weekend. Let's take a look at it now. Police on the scene of a drive-by shooting that left 7 people injured. So of that 57 people that were shot, 7 of them were in just one shooting. And this is right on the south side, directly outside of the city. This is in Bronzeville, right? And this is right outside of the city. This happened Saturday night. Trump said we're going in. He did not say when troops would be deployed. Of those 7 people that were shot, interestingly, all of them were between the ages of 28 and 32. This was a Saturday night shooting, and sad to say, but a shooting like this is actually commonplace in Chicago. I mean, does it happen every weekend? No, but it's not uncommon to hear about this on the reg.
Illinois officials have done a lot of tracking of the weapons used in these shootings. Almost none of them are coming from within the state of Illinois. They are coming almost entirely from neighboring red states with very loose gun laws. Again, a very complicated issue.
Yeah, and a question of whether bringing in federal troops, as you mentioned, is even legal. In this case, it's different in the District of Columbia,
Absolutely.
which doesn't have home rule. So the president is in charge, if you will, of the district. He's not in charge of individual cities or states, and needs a request for an invitation from the governor, and the mayor would be saying, yeah, we need help. I know I've talked to friends who say what we need is more police officers, Chicago police officers.
Jim, you're hearing nothing about that from the federal government.
And
that is what all these states would like.
To address the gun trafficking. Maybe we devote more dollars. But we have a guest who can talk to this because he's on the ground in Chicago. He's an alderman there, and he's been very vocal about what needs to be done. Even Democrats siding with the president in some cases about bringing in the feds. Let's bring in Alderman Raymond Lopez of Chicago's 15th Ward. Alderman Lopez, thanks for joining us here on Connecting America. We appreciate it.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. So just over 2 weeks ago, I noticed that you posted on Facebook, and I'm quoting here, what we don't need, in my opinion, is the National Guard, but what we do need is the FBI, the ATF, and many of the other members of the federal government who can go after these cartels, go after those drug dealers, go after those human traffickers that have been operating within the city of Chicago for the past 20 years. That was a couple of weeks ago. Now you're saying you're okay with bringing in troops. What's changed in that 2-week period?
So what I've learned in talking with members of law enforcement is that they can use the National Guard to help alleviate the pressure and strains that many of our police officers have when it comes to protecting the city's assets, so they can do exactly what you just described, which is to go back into the communities and focus their energy on going after the gangbangers, drug dealers, and those who are causing the mayhem in our communities. Look, we do not want the National Guard here to be a police force, but they are a uniform presence, which can be very helpful, as we've seen in Washington, D.C., to protect train stations, to protect libraries, to protect major parks and things like that in our city, so that those officers that are assigned to those duties now can focus their efforts better in the community. We already have partnerships with many federal agencies like the FBI, DEA, ATF, and we should be working with them in an enhanced measure to go after those individuals engaging in gang activity, drug activity, human trafficking, as well as some of the homicides that are going on with these cross-state gun issues that you've just referenced. But at the end of the day, what we need to continue to do is drive the numbers lower. You know, the mayor and the governor said that crime's already decreased. We're doing a great job. We don't need any help. I had a shooting yesterday in my ward where a man walking down the alley had a bullet put into his head. 2 days ago, I had 2 children walking behind a high school. One of them shot by a potential migrant and was killed. It's hard for me to just say, well, this is how Chicago is, because I refuse to accept that. Chicago can do better. And if President Trump's offer can help us get to that point, then why wouldn't we want that conversation, and let alone action?
Alderman Lopez, what do you make of President Trump characterizing Chicago as, quote, a hellhole? I understand that you agree with him in some respects, but to use that as a characterization of Chicago, how does that make you feel? What do you think of that?
Look, I don't believe that the president fully understands Chicago. I think what he's saying is it's theater in some respects, but we've seen a lot of political theater on both sides. And the problem that I have with all of this inflammatory rhetoric is that while, yes, that may play to your base, left or right, the people caught in the middle, the residents of the city of Chicago, are left with nobody standing up to just bring common sense to this discussion. I'm not running for president. I'm not trying to be president, and I am not the president. But everything that I've seen in between all of these characters undermines our ability to bring public safety to the neighborhoods at a time when we need it most. And I think that everyone needs to take a step back, cool down their tone, and get in a room and figure out what we can do to help Chicago as a whole.
So let me pose this scenario to you. Instead of bringing in troops to sort of guard the bean there, along the Magnificent Mile and being visibly present, what about taking those dollars that are devoted to bringing those troops to Chicago and bring them into the city of Chicago for support for police, bringing in programs that will attract more police officers, because I know that too many police officers are retiring and new recruits are not filling those ranks.
Absolutely.
Bring in federal dollars, in other words, for local programs that can help attack the crime problem instead of spending the money on this federal troop showing for what would be a limited period of time. What do you think of that?
I think in theory that sounds great, and most people would say that would be the more dynamic way to go. However, you need to have a mayor who understands and appreciates law enforcement, appreciates Chicago PD, and is willing to hire those individuals if we were given money to do so. Sadly, Brendan Johnson has shown a refusal to beef up the ranks, whether it's in detectives, sergeants and lieutenants, or rank and file police officers. So that money would literally be given to us and go nowhere while the crime continues to persist. Now, there are others who would say we should focus on those anti violence initiatives that we see everywhere and talk about, of which Donald Trump withheld over $400 million this year for programs dealing with violence interruption. But there again, you have an issue with how are we interrupting violence and still having so many murders, so many issues, and so many things that are not working in our residents' favor. So I think there are other things that we should talk about. But in the short term, and again, this is a short term reprieve for our police department, them not having to guard the Bean, Buckingham Fountain, or Navy Pier puts them back in the streets. And this is what law enforcement, our officers, have said they would very much appreciate the opportunity to do because they are themselves tired of sitting around watching tourists when they know many parts of our city need their help.
If nothing else, all of this is putting a spotlight on Chicago and crime in Chicago, and that is, as Alderman Lopez says, is needed.
All right, Alderman Lopez, thanks for being here on Connecting America. Appreciate that.
All right, China showing off its military might and setting the stage for a new world order with the communist nation front and center. Connecting America, back after a quick break.
Welcome back to Connecting America here at the Roselle Park Sunrise Diner in New Jersey. We've got some new video from overseas to share with you this morning. China's military parade. What a sight. It's marking the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression in World War II. China's Xi, joined by Russia's Putin and North Korea's Kim. Xi is seeking acceleration in building a world-class military. And there you see what unfolded in Tiananmen Square today. President Trump accusing the three leaders now of conspiring against the U.S. on Truth Social. They displayed new missiles, jets, energy weapons, and also robot dogs were on display, Kate.
Wow, robot dogs.
Yeah.
All right.
And they were joined by leaders from Iran, Malaysia, Pakistan, Indonesia, and India as well. So a big show of might there, and a sort of realignment attempt at the world order going on this week in China.
Meanwhile, back here at home, Congress is back in business after the holiday weekend, and it has its work cut out for it. Three of the biggest issues facing them this week, let's take a look at them. They are the Jeffrey Epstein files. Late yesterday, Congress released more than 33,000 DOJ Epstein documents. Also, another topic, redistricting. It started in Texas, then California. Is there any end to this gerrymandering? Also, a potential government shutdown, because it is the same story year after year. And we want you to chime in now on our question of the day. Let's take a look at it. What is your biggest concern when it comes to Congress? Is it the Epstein files? Is it redistricting? Is it a potential government shutdown? Or is it tariffs? You can see the QR code on the bottom of your screen. You can snap it with your mobile phone, cast your vote, and of course, we will bring you the results as the hour and show progresses.
Yeah, and over the next couple of hours, we'll hear from both sides of the political spectrum. That's what we're all about here on Connecting America. Let's begin the conversation about Congress and all eyes there today with Archie Siddiqui, CEO of Bellwether Government Affairs, a former senior staffer to Nancy Pelosi. Archie, thanks for being here this morning on Connecting America. We appreciate it. Your turn to answer that question of the day. What do you see as the biggest concern or biggest challenge for Congress coming up?
I think the biggest challenge for Congress is the cost of living crisis. And I think you will see Democrats really trying to laser focus on that front in the government funding negotiation. So that is something that's been gotten lost in the shuffle, as you have covered quite well. There's a lot of uncertainty. There is, I'd say, chaotic uncertainty in Washington across the board. But at the end of the day, the president did a really good job in the campaign of highlighting the need to address these cost of living issues. And since that time, there hasn't been enough done. And actually, families are facing greater challenges, not less, and some more greater challenges on the horizon as well.
Archie, what do you think is the priority for Congress right now as we get out of this Labor Day weekend? What do you see as the priorities?
Well, I think the challenge is that the House, Senate, and White House, as you know, is controlled by Republicans. And for the president, he has unfettered access on the agenda. So the agenda really does change based on the president's day. So I think that is how there hasn't been a check or balance by Republicans in Congress so far to really set an agenda that is focused. And so I think government funding, though, I think all three issues that you highlighted are there, but they all have political undertones and an ideological undertone rather than the policy focus that I think meets this moment.
How confident are you? And I think I know the answer to this question, but we have to ask whether Congress can get anything done and avoid a government shutdown, the deadline being September 30th.
You know, it's interesting because the one piece that I would take a little bit of pushback on is I think there has been a tried and true model for Democrats and Republicans to work on these must-pass bills together. So I think that in the past has been something at the forefront. But I think in this year, we have seen a breakdown of that bipartisan bandwidth and muscle memory. So this negotiation really is a question of, can Republicans really enter into a good faith negotiation with Democrats to find some common ground? And I think Congress, there is a lane and there's a pathway. But I think, again, it depends on the political calculus that the president makes in these negotiations.
All right. Arshi Siddiqui, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. In our next hour, we will move to the right. Nicole Russell is an opinion writer for USA Today. She just wrote an article, Democrats Can't Beat Trump on Common Sense. No wonder voters are abandoning them. Nicole will join us later in the show.
We'll be right back. Okay. Welcome back to Connecting America, everybody. Coming to you from the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey on this Wednesday. We're dishing the top stories from around the country.
We certainly are. There is a winner in the space war between Colorado and Alabama. Have you been following this story? President Trump announcing that the U.S. Space Command will be moved from Colorado Springs to Huntsville, Alabama, which is the place they call the Rocket City. That agency coordinates military activities in space, including satellite communications and certain aspects of missile defense. Let's take you right to Huntsville, a city rich in space history.
Space and Rocket Center spokesperson Pat Emmons joining us live from Huntsville. Pat, thanks for being here this morning. Can you tell us the reaction there about this decision to move the Spacecom headquarters back from Colorado to Alabama? All right, I guess we can't hear Pat. Obviously, this is an issue because it was originally temporarily in Colorado.
Right. It started in 2020.
Colorado Springs.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in 2023, President Biden said, hey, let's bring this, let's keep it in Colorado. And then 2025, President Trump said, no, let's go to Alabama. And I think we do have the guest back. So let's go back over to Pat. Pat, good morning again. Can you hear us now?
I certainly can. Hi, good morning.
Tell us the reaction.
I was excited. I mean, this is certainly an announcement we've been anticipating for a while. As you know, there's been a lot of back and forth over the last few years about this. But it is, I think the general reaction in the city was really positive and very excited to add yet another star to the crown.
So I understand, Pat, that 5,000 jobs are going to be added over 5 years. Tell us a little bit about that transition.
Well, we have a growing city here. We've been growing for quite some time. And so I think our city leaders have been preparing for this. Our infrastructure is continuing to develop here in town the FBI has a large and growing presence here as well. So I think what we're looking at is just kind of the continuation of what we've been seeing the last several years. And actually the last, Huntsville's used to change. We've been changing for the last 75 years as our little cotton town turned into a major center for aerospace and defense and biotechnology.
We know your two senators were lobbying for this to happen. Why would you say that Alabama is a better location for this versus Colorado at this point, Pat?
Well, I can only speak to the studies that were done, and certainly there was a lot of research, I believe, that was done and in regards to this. And so I think that the study showed that Huntsville's, we have the infrastructure, certainly the intellectual and the power of, our solid workforce of aerospace and defense workforce here. So I think that's what the study showed. For us personally at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, this is just another example. We're a museum that showcases the accomplishments of our community. And so this is just another thing that we can talk about the great things that have happened here in Huntsville.
So, the folks in Colorado feel like it's a financial waste going back and forth. What do you see from your perspective, and how many people are you going to have to bring in from Colorado? Are they already there, or are they most of them in Alabama?
From what I understand, most of them are probably still in Colorado. As far as the expenses are associated with that. That is a calculation above my pay grade for certain. And that is, we are mostly, I think, focused on continuing the legacy of our city and how we have contributed since, as I said, 1950 to the aerospace and defense industry in our country. And I think this is a good fit in that regard.
All right, Pat, we thank you so much for joining us from Alabama this morning. Good luck with this transition. Appreciate it.
Now, as a Colorado native, this will cost the economy $1 billion, and the concerns are that they'll lose thousands of employees who will not want to make the move from Colorado to Alabama. But the big problem here is, look, a lot of Air Force experts and officials think this financially makes the most sense. The problem was President Trump injected a whole new factor in it yesterday, talking about mail-in voting, which should have absolutely nothing to do with this process whatsoever. And so on the surface, it looks like we're just moving something from a blue state to a red state, because red states have not been punished for mail-in voting, which they do across the country. And there has never been any evidence of widespread voter fraud related to mail-in elections. None. Zero evidence of widespread mail-in voter fraud. So why that was injected into this process is unfortunate.
There's an air of punitive quality to it, right?
100%.
Yeah. And that's what doesn't sit well with people, right? Let's just make this a decision based on the numbers and what makes the most sense. But why
based on the red versus the blue states.
Yes.
And that's what we're seeing with crime, right? We're going to move in National Guard troops only into the blue cities that are high crime, but not into Memphis, Tennessee, not into any city in Louisiana, not into Kansas City, cities that are red states that have higher crime rates, actually, than a lot of the blue cities.
Neighboring Utah has mail-in voting.
Of course.
Red state. Yeah. Well, off to Alabama for some of them.
And President Trump votes by mail historically almost every election.
Some ironies there.
Yes.
All right.
That's it.
Connecting America is just getting started. Up next, you have to be in it to win it. Dave is. We know that. We're getting new cars.
He's going to
Kate.
win.
We're going to tell you what the three of us are going to do with that $1.3 billion Powerball jackpot. What we're going to do with it, Dave. Did you hear that?
There's a we.
When we come
Royal
right back.
we.
Suspect.
Welcome back to Connecting America from the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey. The sun is up. It's a beautiful day here in New Jersey. And let me just tell you, it is always fun to dream. That's why I never get sick of Powerball stories. As a news anchor, you're constantly talking about them. But I will tell you, it is always fun to say to yourself, what would I do with $1.3 billion?
Thank you so much for saying that, because I do this every time a jackpot gets, near $1 billion. And my kids always say, why do you always do this? And I say, so I get to dream.
It's fun to dream.
It gives me a few minutes to escape the realities of life and just think about my yacht. Or
You're on that yacht,
plane.
right?
And frankly, look, I love Starbucks, but a $9 latte in some cases, I'd rather waste $9 on a chance to win $1 billion. I know I'm not going to win.
Yes, it's a chance to dream.
Yes, we all get to dream.
What's your dream, Kate?
I've been really impressed with Mackenzie Scott and what she's done with her divorce earnings from Jeff Bezos. She's done so much good with it. I think if you win $1.3 billion, your mind has to be, what kind of good could I do with all this money?
Make a difference in the world.
If that's how you dream,
altruistic
get
Kate.
out
Absolutely.
of here.
No,
sorry.
I'm sorry. You can still have your yacht. You could still have a helicopter, any amount of cars, but the amount of money you could do
There's no way that's
good.
the first thing that comes into your brain.
With that much money, yes. Because you know what?
After your yacht.
Well, you and your yacht. I mean, that is just an astronomical amount of money. And if you can't put
Well, it's
some
only
sort of altruism in it,
589 million cash.
Only.
if you tell you the payout, right?
Yes.
That would be enough for my trip around the world.
Yeah,
I
there you
could do
go.
that.
Trip around the
Yeah.
world. Again, I need a car. Haven't had a car in 20 years. I desperately need one. That would be my first purchase, but then I would think about the
Then
globe.
She is Mackenzie
Sullivan.
Yes.
Sullivan.
The fifth largest in history. There have been 40 Powerball drawings so far without a big winner, 2 away from the last record. The biggest jackpot was just over $2 billion. The odds of winning are stellar. 1 in 292 million.
Do your kids know that stat and tell you that every time?
They
Dad.
absolutely do.
Yeah.
But again, it's worth $5, $10 for that dream.
Yes, you're saying there's a chance.
Speaking of saving some money, how about going to McDonald's? They're bringing back the McValue meal menu, Dave. For $5, you get that sausage McMuffin with egg meal that includes hash browns and coffee. $8, the Big Mac meal, including the burger, the medium fries, and medium drink. You can also get an egg McMuffin and quarter pounder meal deals that will be 15% cheaper than ordering a la carte. When I go to McDonald's, I don't think of using the term, may I order a la carte? Do you?
I'm quite certain no one has ever done so until now. Fewer people are eating fast food due to the prices. McDonald's is countering that. Yeah, the prices went so high. I don't think you remember a couple of years back, there were screenshots and Instagrams of like $12 Big Macs and $14 Big Macs. And I think people really got away from that habitually. But it's also Ozempic. Ozempic is a major reason we are eating less fast food.
Those
today.
weight loss drugs.
Well,
Yeah.
Yes.
Also with McDonald's, they used to have a dollar menu, and people went for their coffee, they went for their drinks, they would just get that. I believe that's gone away. And so I think that's part of what the resurgence is. They're like, let's bring back these economy shoppers and let's try to give them an incentive to get back to McDonald's on the reg.
But the fries are good.
They're
Aren't they?
delicious.
Yeah.
I love McDonald's fries.
If I'm doing something a la carte,
Yes.
I'm getting the fries.
Yes.
All right, 2 terms you've been hearing a lot of: the manosphere and toxic masculinity. Andrew Tate, he's the self-proclaimed misogynist influencer with millions of followers.
I know you've come here to re-recruit me because I'm the only man who can get it done. I know I'm the best chance you've got. I know you didn't want to come here, but you had to get me because if I don't do it, nobody will. I know you want me to motivate the masculine youth, get them inside the real world, make everybody rich and strong and powerful so that we can resist the enslavement that they're trying to bestow upon our minds and tell the matrix programming that we will not obey. I know what you want me to do. I don't do that anymore.
We need just one more job.
He's a little intense.
Well, he never wears a shirt. That's the first thing. And there's a reason for that. And there's a reason we are talking about all this today. It's that USA Today just released a mini documentary called Extremely Normal, The Manosphere. USA Today extremist reporter Will Carless examines why lonely young men are turning to controversial influencers like Andrew Tate for guidance.
America's psychologist, Dr. Jeff Gardere, is with us this morning to help us unpack the manosphere. Dr. Jeff, where do you weigh in on this whole phenomenon of toxic masculinity?
Yeah, well, Jim, first and foremost, I'm not going to talk like this to my patients, especially if they're young males, because it's not about hypermasculinity. It's about being able to communicate with others, talk about what some of the issues of not having empowerment may be about. And a lot of these folks who are out there as part of the manosphere, they believe that society is biased against men. But all of this does in working with young men who feel that they're isolated is it fuels misogyny and it normalizes gender-based violence. It's just not a healthy thing at all.
Isn't some of this, I think I was reading, for show, to try to build your social following, some of the things he says, Says, I don't really believe all of what I'm saying, but it's obviously getting the attention that he's after.
Yeah, did you notice when he was doing his Hulk Hogan impersonation how he turned away from the camera and started smiling? I think a lot of these influencers don't even believe what they're selling, but it's a way for them to make money. And what that ends up doing is harming our young men. It promotes misogyny, hypermasculinity, and I believe it puts them in a position where they are less communicative in a way that they are encouraged to suppress a lot of their emotions and instead be this hyper male who doesn't feel anything. I only want to conquer. It's just not healthy at all.
Well, Jeff, what should we be telling our young boys? I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and 6-year-old boy, right? 3 boys. And they're getting all these influences from YouTube. They are borderline toxic masculinity, especially when you talk about video games and that world. What should we be doing as parents to balance this out and make sure I don't have 3 toxic masculines walking around?
Yeah, Kate, that is the answer is in the question. What are we as parents doing? We need to be able to be there for our boys, understand, as the Surgeon General Vivek Murthy talked about, that there is a crisis in young males, especially young white males who feel disenfranchised, who feel that they're being passed over by society. As parents, we need to be there so we don't have these influencers who are filling the void in a very negative way. As fathers, as mothers, we all need to step up and address what this loneliness is that our boys have and how, in a very positive way, they can be much more productive in society, and the importance about talking with regard to their feelings and what it is that they are experiencing.
And also just monitor what they're watching, right? Even for 30 minutes, those can seep into those young minds and come out in other ways down the road. We really got to be more vigilant.
Yeah, and not only more vigilant, but also helping them with what it is that they are watching. There are other influencers who are quite positive, who really do believe in messages that talk about equality and egalitarianism and how to tap into one's better self. There are a lot of them out there, but it's some of these hyper masculine manosphere individuals who are actually getting all of the press out there. And notice I didn't say that individual's name because I don't think we should be promoting these particular individuals, at least as commentators, certainly as part of our news show, yes. But, for me as an expert, I won't even give any space to those individuals.
What does this say about our culture, Jeff, that this has taken such hold, and what young men are looking for, and how isolated they might feel in their lives?
Well, you and Dave talk about it every day. We are now in a political cycle where we see that there are many issues as far as disempowering women, black males, black people in general, that it is really about a power structure. Might makes right. And so that reinforces a lot of these sort of hyper masculine, misogynistic messages that we see from a lot of these influencers. It just, in many ways, it rhymes with what we see happening in this political structure. We have people in office who are known for bad behavior, but are still being able to stay in these positions of power.
All right, Dr. Jeff Gardier, thanks as always for being here on Connecting America. We appreciate it.
My boys love Mr. Beast. Are you familiar with Mr. Beast?
The most influential YouTuber on the planet.
Yes.
Yeah, and quite close to a billionaire.
And by no means is he toxic masculinity, but it just shows.
Oh no, not at all.
But it just shows you how even 30 minutes a day that overtakes their life. That's all they want to talk about is Mr.
True,
Beast.
but if your kids are looking up to Mr. Beast, be happy about it. I mean, this guy's giving away millions of dollars.
Yes.
He's building a company. Yes. He's doing really innovative things online. Be very happy.
Yes.
If you think your kids don't know Andrew Tate, you're wrong.
Right.
They do.
Right.
Our boys do. And you don't know that they're following this guy. He is enormously influential.
Yeah.
So you should have a conversation with your young boys about him, even if you think they don't watch. They do.
Absolutely.
And you might be surprised by what your kids say.
You would be astonished.
To other news right now, nearly half of the states have legalized recreational marijuana, but Kansas isn't one of them. Our Hannah Davis visits a place there that's still selling stuff that you can get high.
Headed to a business that sells hemp products, and then we're actually going to go, this is crazy to me, guys. We're going to go to a hemp farm where they're making this product that's getting people high and also treating people's like ailments. It's 10 minutes from my childhood home, and this is all operating legally.
Wonderful to see you again.
Yes, good to see you too. Tell folks who you are, how we know each other.
My name is Brett Harris. Used to work with this talented young lady, and now I've moved into the retail angle of cannabis in Kansas. We're one of only 3 states left that have 0 cannabis laws, meaning there's no medical here, there's no recreational.
This is my question for you.
Yeah.
What in the heck are you selling to me?
There's the cannabis plants, and there is the hemp plant. Anything derived from hemp is protected under the Farm Bill of 2018 Trump put together, so you're allowed to have mild hemp. That's what this is. Training wheels for weed when we go legal. Every cannabis law in America right now, you can only buy it within your own state. So it's important to partner with a Kansas farmer like Sheldon Coleman.
So it was a third career for me. I was corporate executive, CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and started growing hemp and found this incredibly rewarding. Look at our little buddy here. To see something growing from dirt and a seed into something then you could turn into a health product. This is really delicious. Mango passion fruit. These gummies contain a fantastic nighttime supply of CBD and CBN and a small amount of THC, which exists in hemp naturally. Delta 8 is psychotropic. It's good for sleep, but also people use it off work and for relaxation. This is Delta 9. That will make you feel high, and it's very pleasant. Renew is our best seller. Put it on your knees, on your joints, and it penetrates and it goes deep. CBG, again, the secret weapon for anti-inflammation.
Hemp is really an interesting story across this country, in particular because you can walk into almost any liquor store in the country and buy THC beverages, which I'm a huge supporter of. I think they're far better for you than our alcohol, but there is still so much ambiguity, so much of a gray area legally, and Congress is just kind of sitting in the dark, and they should be getting some clarity and some rules and some regulations, because I don't think you have any idea what your kids can get online. That is what worries me.
Mm-hmm.
Not what you can walk into a regulated shop and get. You can order almost anything off of this computer,
including pills
that will get you high and is totally unregulated.
Right, and if they're ordering something they think is like Adderall and it's counterfeit pills, you don't know what's in the pills. That's a whole nother
And the consumer does not know it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to be back at the top of the hour. Coming up, Israel's latest moves in Gaza. We'll talk about that. Yeah, I did a story in Philadelphia about it.
The views expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of USA Today or its affiliates.
Good morning. Welcome back to Connecting America. I'm Jim Rosenfield alongside Dave Briggs this morning, along with Kate Sullivan in for Alisyn in town from Chicago. We really appreciate you coming to join us here at the diner, Kate.
I love being at a diner. It's one of my favorite places to be.
Well, then let's get you this.
Let's get 20 pages of fun.
I need to start studying that menu.
Where do I begin, Dave? What's your favorite order here?
I think I mix it up every day, but I think
like an
today
egg white
feels
Whoa,
like a
pie.
pancake
whoa.
day.
Open that page again.
Yes.
You know what we haven't had?
Yes.
The Belgian waffles. Kate.
Oh, I love a French
I'm gonna
toast.
take this back. You guys do the news.
Can I order something a la carte, please?
Always a la carte.
All right, switching gears here. This is really serious. Our lead story at this hour, Israel beginning its ground operation in Gaza City. And that means thousands of Israeli reservists are reporting for duty. This is something many of us in the U.S. can't comprehend, but that military service is compulsory. Working men and women, moms and dads, they're called up. They're sent into a war zone. Going into Gaza City, it's controversial. Many in the world want this war to end, not ramped up.
Yes, to
Yeah.
understand it, let's take you to the Middle East right now. David Sussman is on the Israel-Syrian border shooting his television show, Land of the Bible.
David, thanks for joining us from the Golan Heights. We understand this ground operation is underway in Gaza City with some deadly consequences at this point already.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me once again on your program. I really appreciate you allowing me to be a voice for Israel. And yes, we are getting ready. 60,000 soldiers were called up in this push towards Gaza City that will hopefully end this war and eliminate the threat of Hamas, both to Israel and to the Palestinians who are living in Gaza.
David, can you talk a little bit about shooting your television show in the midst of this? What are the difficulties you're facing, and what is your day-to-day life like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Day-to-day life has been interrupted massively during this time. When you're running for a bomb shelter almost on a daily basis, when Iran is launching ballistic missiles, when you have the Houthis who are attacking us every single week for the last year plus, it's definitely disruptive. I work in tourism. I'm shooting this program for the Ministry of Tourism, and tourism has been, pretty not where it should be. There have been just a small trickle of people who are coming to Israel right now. And for the most part, those who are coming want to support, show solidarity, visit the communities that were affected on October 7th, try and give some love and support to the soldiers who have been serving. I'm 48 years old. I have friends who are in their early 40s that live in the community of Efrat where I live, who have served nearly 300 days since the beginning of this war. And they're married and they have children and they have businesses and work. So, everybody's life here in Israel has been drastically changed and interrupted during this difficult campaign. But I think everyone, including those that are called up right now, in order to take control of Gaza City and end the threat of Hamas and bring our hostages home and hopefully bring peace to this region for generations to come, I think as difficult it is, they are still very much with the mind frame that this is a necessity and something that we need to do. And unfortunately, it's in our generation at this time that we are the ones that need to carry that weight, carry that, I don't want to call it a burden, but it is a bit of a burden. But sometimes, you got to put that yoke on and you need to plow the field.
What about troop exhaustion, David? If you can speak to this, I know the military has said it needs 12,000 new recruits. And what is the latest with the ultra-Orthodox who no longer have that exemption? Are they being drafted at this point, or is that on hold?
Sure. So first of all, exhaustion is a real thing. I have served in the Army. I served in the Second Lebanon War. I definitely know what exhaustion is like. I can tell you that in the heat of battle, when you have a break, the first thing you're doing is thanking God to still be alive, and then you are taking a nap. You sleep whenever you can, but it's at a time that you really muster up whatever you have inside of you, whatever energy you have left, and you keep on moving forward. You know, we have a saying here in Israel, Kol Barosh. It's all in the head, mind over matter, and you know, you just keep on going. And then when there's a lull in the fighting or a break, you try and recuperate as best as possible. But absolutely, the Haredim, the ultra religious in Israel, um, most of us here in Israel, including myself, I'm religious, and I do see the need for Torah study, mitzvot, and time in the yeshiva, and for prayer. That is coupled with the bravery of our soldiers that keeps our nation safe. King David, right, one of the greatest king here in Israel. He was one of our best fighters, and at the same time, he carried with him in battle a Sefer Torah, our religious and holy book that was, you know, brought down through prophecy to Moses. So, you know, there's a side for religion and prayer, and at the end of the day, somebody also needs to plow the field, grind the grain, bake the bread, and in this case, somebody needs to shoot the rifle.
All right. David Sussman, please be safe. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining us today. I feel very fortunate to have David's perspective from Israel. He has such a unique POV on what's going on over there. And the fact that he continues to shoot his television show amidst all of that is really incredible.
Yeah, interesting. We didn't get to talk to him about this time, but I think we brought up last time, what's the impact of tourism in Israel while all this is going on? You know, he's working for the tourism ministry. That would be interesting to see. You know, is it up? Is it down? I would think during this period of conflict,
it would
be
down.
A lot of people are reluctant to go there.
I can speak for my town, highly Jewish population. Many people have put off trips. Dozens of friends have put off trips in recent years. Meanwhile, Jeffrey Epstein back in the news today, as some of the victims will gather this morning in Washington, D.C. as part of a, quote, Stand with Survivors rally. Before his suicide, Epstein was charged with running an international sex trafficking ring. The rally being sponsored by a group called World Without Exploitation, the country's largest anti-trafficking coalition. We spoke with one of the coalition's co-founders, Rachel Foster, yesterday.
Are sex trafficked right under our noses. And Epstein and Maxwell really isolated them and had enough power to be able to lure them in and then use that trust and that access to something that they may have wanted, like a job or some upward mobility, to eviscerate their sense of safety in the world. And we need to know that this is what happens around the country. And we work very hard to create legislation and have survivors speak out on legislation that holds those most powerful accountable for the harm, the sex buyers and the pimps, and to provide services and exit strategies for those who are harmed. And we've seen major changes in Maine and New Hampshire, but we work closely with amplifying the voices of survivors, of those who have lived through this trauma and this violence.
Rachel, sadly, this, like so many things, has been politicized. This Capitol Hill event will be both Democrat and Republican represented, Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. What is your message to Congress, who they adjourned early to try to move attention away from this? What is the message to Congress regarding the Epstein files and to the president, who is said to be considering a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell?
So the rally is going to be before the press conference. So the rally is at 9:30 and the press conference is at 10:30. And this is a nonpartisan, non-political event. And what the survivors want is the release of the files, obviously with the protection for them, that their names are redacted. They want transparency and they want a truth-finding mission. And to also recognize that there are prosecutors from the Southern District who worked incredibly hard to bring truth to light and did stand with survivors in bringing their reality and truth forward. So we do not want victims to feel that they can't go to law enforcement and prosecutors with crimes they've experienced because there will be impunity. To give Maxwell leniency or a pardon signals to every victim that there will be no justice and that it's elusive. So, whatever sliver of justice these survivors had with the one living person who was held accountable, if she's pardoned or given leniency, it is absolutely a statement that there is no justice, and it will scare them into coming forward, all victims, when they've suffered crimes.
All right, that rally coming up later this morning in Washington, and I know we're hearing from some of Epstein's victims for the first time publicly.
Which will be nice to turn the focus away from politics onto the victims. But I will say the administration, there was thousands of pages of documents released yesterday. Almost all of it had already been released in one form or another. So it appears some sort of smokescreen is happening on Capitol Hill or from the administration. Only 3% of what was released was new. There's also evidence after this release that Pam Bondi wasn't honest about the 1 minute of security tape missing from the video in which Jeffrey Epstein died in that prison cell. It is clear now that it was repeatedly edited over and over again. So there certainly needs to be some answers from the administration and from our Attorney General.
A lot more to come on that story for sure. Well, if you would like to connect with us or follow us on all of social media, we are on it. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok. Let's take a look at that VO. And the Best of Connecting America is also available each day wherever you get your podcasts. Just type in Connecting America in the search bar, and there is where all of the Connecting America podcast is.
Coming up after the break, we're going to speak with a USA Today opinion columnist on why she says voters are abandoning the Democrats. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Harvey. All right, welcome back to Connecting America on this Wednesday morning. I'm Jim Rosenfield along with Kate Sullivan. Glad you're here this morning. A lot going on all over the world.
Yes.
Including in our nation's capital, too, Kate.
Yeah, let's talk some politics right now. Democrats continue to do some soul searching as they figure out how to get back into power. Our next guest is USA Today opinion columnist Nicole Russell, and she's here to discuss her latest piece with this headline. Here it is. Democrats can't beat Trump on common sense. No wonder voters are abandoning them. Nicole, did you choose that headline or did your editors choose it?
It was probably a mix of both of us.
Tell us a little bit about your article.
Sure. Well, one thing I've been watching as Donald Trump has been in office now for several months is that Democrats just have not been able to regain their lost ground. We've been watching Trump hit win after win after win with the economy, with trying to broker peace with Iran. And Democrats just keep floundering. They are at the lowest favorability that they've been in 3 decades. They have not been able to make any kind of gains in terms of registered voters in swing states, especially states like Arizona and in Pennsylvania. And they don't have any real rising stars. I think that's probably one of their biggest problems. They just aren't gaining ground among Democrats. So the party is just slowly kind of sliding into erasure.
So through your research, what do you think it would take? What popped out as something that would give Democrats gain?
I think Democrats need a couple of things. The biggest thing is they keep being unable to take normal common sense positions. For example, when it comes to crime, Trump sent in the federal resources to handle crime in Washington, D.C. I used to live that way, and everyone in that area knew crime was a problem. But Democrats, as soon as that happened, they smeared Trump. They said crime was not a problem. Everything was going to be fine. Well, in 2 to 3 weeks, crime has been cleaned up in D.C. And Democrats still can't admit that it was an issue, let alone that Trump's solutions worked. So they keep kind of taking the far position. Something CNN Scott Jennings says all the time, they take an 80-20, they take a 20% on an issue. And so I think if they could come around on some of those really common sense solutions, like for example, that nobody wants crime, they might make some headway with voters.
Well, I think the issue is that they don't say that we're okay, that the crime isn't a problem. I think they're saying we have an issue with the use of federal troops being brought into our cities to address the crime problem. So there's a fine line there.
I agree with.
What do you think of Gavin Newsom, though? You talk about the party not having any stars. He's taken this approach. I'm going to troll President Trump. I'm going to sort of copy his social media approach. How do you think that's working?
Well, I know I was stunned to see that. I actually think Newsom, or I would have said this a year ago, perhaps, that Newsom has a lot going for him. He's very charismatic, right? He's very likable. He's leading the state with the largest GDP. California has an extraordinary amount of resources. However, in the last year, he's decided to do what you just mentioned, I think he's trying to come to the middle. He's trying to become a bit more moderate to appeal to other voters. And so it looks like his press team, decided they were going to troll Trump, and this was their strategy. They're sort of tweeting like him on X, then all caps. They're smearing him, they're mocking Trump. I don't think that's going to work. I'm sure that appeals to some Democrats who love Newsom, especially Californians. But I don't think that's going to work overall. And I think it's going to end up making him look really petty. I think the best thing Newsom could do to appeal to the left is to improve things in California. So then he could look at his governing record and show other voters, hey, look, I resolved homelessness in California. I lowered taxes in California. If things got better there, then he could show the rest of voters, look, my record in California is great. You should vote for me.
If the Democrats did have a star, do you think it's a good idea to bring them out now, knowing the character of Trump and how he has gone after anyone he sees as a foe? And kind of what is the strategy there? If you are part of the Democratic Party, what do you do? Do you keep someone under wraps? Do you slowly bring them out? I mean, knowing what you know about the way Trump plays politics.
Yeah, that is a good question. I think that a strong candidate could withstand some of Trump's. Trump does handle social media. I've always said this, and I'm a Republican, like a 12-year-old boy. It is
Right.
crazy, and I don't know how seriously people take that. So I do think the right candidate on the left could just keep their head down and survive that, because they do need to start getting their name recognition out there. If you think about 2028, I mean, does anyone pop into your mind when it comes to Democratic leadership? It doesn't really for me. Even Newsom, like I said, he's just starting to struggle a little. So I do think the right person could withstand it and would need to really gain some name and voter recognition on the left, and perhaps maybe take their own jabs at Trump. But I don't think going to Trump's level on social media is going to do the trick.
What do you think, Nicole, overall about how young people, the next generation might feel about politics in general and entering the fray when they see the state of politics right now?
Mm-hmm. That is a good question. I think I have two thoughts on that. One, I don't like seeing how divided we do seem to be. That there is more on the right and more on the left, and just this chasm in the middle. It did not used to be that way. I blame mostly social media and algorithms for kind of presenting to people their confirmed bias, and that goes for the right and for the left. And I notice it for myself that I get the same thing when it comes to social media. So I don't like to see that. I do think that I've noticed when I'm writing columns and the way some columns really get read and sent around, there are still some middle ground issues that I think Americans want to see people come together on. I don't think people are as far out as they look like they are. So I do think there's a little hope for the younger generation. I think we just need to decide what issues matter to us as a whole, as Americans. And I do think my second point is I think Trump, for all of his problems and issues, he does have some, I think he is pushing America in the right direction. It's just that he's doing it in a unique way and in a way that not everyone agrees with. However, the outcomes, for example, of what he's done with the economy, are still really good. So I still think that hopefully young voters can have some optimism that they're coming into an economy in a world that is doing a little better than it was under Biden, and maybe try to come around on some of those middle ground issues.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective, Nicole. We really appreciate you joining us today. Hope and optimism, we need it, especially when you look at the landscape, because it is ugly.
We have a young friend who's just launching a podcast. I think it's called Building the Bench, something to that nature, looking at young people and getting involved in politics. This on the Democratic side, trying to cultivate that next generation of political leaders and starting, young and trying to figure out who are the next stars of the younger generation.
Yeah, and how do you handle the landscape?
I think it'd be interesting to get him on actually at some point.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We want you to chime in now on our question of the day. Your biggest concern when it comes to Congress, which is back in session, is it the Epstein files? Is it the whole issue of gerrymandering or redistricting? The government shutdown looming at the end of September, or tariffs? Right now, tariffs in the lead, Kate, at 67%. A lot of people concerned about what that impact might be on the price they pay for goods that they buy.
That makes sense. You can see that QR code on the bottom of the screen. You can snap it with your mobile phone, and we cast your vote. We'll check in throughout the hour.
All right, we've been sitting here for a while, Kate, over an
Yes.
hour. It's time to get moving. Connecting America's fitness correspondent Jenna Wolf's going to help us do that, demonstrating 3 of her favorite exercises. I don't think that's enough,
No,
Kate. We're going to have to work harder than that.
If you're anything like me, you're always looking to get the most bang for your buck. The same thing applies to working out, especially if you're crunched for time. I'm gonna give you my 3 favorite exercises I'm pretty sure you're not currently doing. And I love these 3. They work everything all at once. Upper body, lower body, cardio, core, flexibility, mobility, you name it, I'm gonna give it to you. 3 exercises, all you need is an outfit. I'm wearing my handful bra, if you know, you know. An option to grab a pair of weights, water bottles, something nice and light. Exercise number 1, I like this. This is the Gorilla Punch Punch. What about that name? All right, so we're gonna squat down. Put your hands down, maybe you've got your weights. Shift over, come up, punch, punch. Squat down, put those weights down, come up, punch, punch. 1, 1, 2, 2. Give me 10 of those, you will feel it. Exercise number 2, a squat, elbow to knee, finger to toe. We're gonna work the core now, right? Squat down, give me elbow to knee, reach, finger to toe. Squat down, elbow to knee, finger to toe. Try to keep maybe the leg off for more of a challenge. Elbow to knee, finger to toe, nice balance. 10 and 10 on the other side. The third exercise, let's get into your back and your upper body a little bit. Butt out, chest down, flat back, thumbs out. Give me 2 squeezes, stand up. We're gonna lunge and we're gonna lunge, right? Come down, 2 squeezes, thrust forward. We're gonna lunge and you're gonna lunge, 10 of those. So 3 exercises that work everything, getting the most bang for your buck. I absolutely love these. I hope you do too.
I was waiting for her to splash cold water in her face like she did last time.
She spared us.
I love that morning routine. I need to try it.
So do I.
Haven't yet.
So do I.
We'll do it live here one day on air.
All right.
I'm in. You're in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I like it.
Not today, though.
Right.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Well, do you have your banana? This is not the beginning of a joke. We are actually going to tell you a little bit about the health benefits. You know, I had one this morning, right before I started the show.
I love a good banana.
I love a good banana.
This next story is from USA Today. Why bananas are the perfect pre-workout snack. They spoke with a dietitian who says they have carbs that give you an energy boost. Also packed in there in this thing, vitamin B6, vitamin C, and magnesium. They also have nutrients that can help with cardiovascular health and fiber. That's good for the old gut for digestion.
I thought it was just potassium.
Potassium.
So did I.
Yeah, potassium.
I thought that was the only reason we ate bananas, to avoid cramps, which I get quite often. I always have a banana post-workout because I have a smoothie, but I never knew it was a good pre-workout.
For me,
food.
I'm a runner, and so I do a half a banana before I run. It's really the only thing. It stays with me. It's a little bit of sugar, a little bit of energy. It's like the perfect amount of food. Yes.
Do you do peanut butter on it or just as
half
is?
a banana. But I do like that combo.
Peanut butter banana. Well, we talked about this yesterday.
Peanut butter and banana sandwich.
With
fantastic.
honey.
Little bit of honey. Yeah, that's a golf food for me. Like, keeps you going on the course, easy to throw in your bag.
Would it help my game?
Unfortunately, no, my friend. It did not help
need a lot of help,
one
Dave.
bit.
Worth a try.
That is just fundamental to all of us who struggle
Other
on the
things
golf
need to be
course.
worked on. Yeah.
I just ordered some pancakes with bananas, so we're going to put this theory to the test because I will work out as soon as I get home.
Is that a group dish or like
Sorry, buddy.
Like the Powerball? It's your thing
That
only.
is just for me. I like them baked into my pancake. Like I'll slice them up and put them in the batter. I don't know if we'll do that here at the
We shall
Sunrise
see.
Diner, but highly recommended for you at home. A little granola also adds to the crunch
But
of
isn't
the
that the
pancake.
beauty of doing this show at the Sunrise Diner? You can do that.
Experimenting.
Trying
Each day with
something
new
new.
foods,
We
yes.
love our diners. Let's check out our National Diner of the Day. And this one takes us to Illinois, which is where I live. Mary Lou's Grill has been around since 1962. That looks like the photos from 1962, located in Carbondale in southern Illinois. It's open, so it's about 4 hours from me. It's open only Tuesdays to Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Great diner hours. Yelp reviewers describe it as a classic old style bar diner with a dining area as well. And that is that a chicken melt with mushrooms?
burger,
Yeah,
I
that was
believe.
delicious.
Swiss, mushroom and Swiss.
Yeah. Now this diner is great because it's near Southern Illinois University, so it is a staple. You remember when you were in college? There
What's
was
that?
nothing like going
Hush
to a
puppies?
diner
Is that
for
hush puppies?
breakfast. Yes, those are looks like hush puppies.
Pineapple
Although they could be
on
they
the
could be fried
sandwich.
mushrooms.
Oh, it could
they
be. You're right.
See, they look
Yeah,
like they could be
I
fried
think you're right.
mushrooms.
See, I'll
with
do
pineapple.
a chicken sandwich with pineapple and teriyaki. I'm wondering if that's what that is because it is a really nice combination. I
you
learned
bring
that
up-
at Red Robin.
You bring up a great point, and that is we should do a Stump the Diner segment where we ask for the most obscure food to see if they can fulfill it. Because what I'm always impressed with diners is just the volume of different types of items that they have back there, right? Whether it's meatloaf to a cacio e pepe, like what could
My
we
first
stump
day here,
them?
I stumped them with
What-
I just said I want a Greek omelet, and they looked at me like I had
They didn't
a
know.
couple of heads.
No,
Wait a
You know,
minute.
I mean,
Doug is Greek.
well, you got to have pepperoncini. You got to have Kalamata olives. You can't have regular olives. You got to have feta. Really highly recommend.
Shocked they didn't know.
The
that.
I'm
Greek
shocked
omelet.
too.
We'll get them on board.
There's
We'll get it
pictures
added to
of
the
Greece
menu at
on
some
the
point.
wall. His farm in Greece.
That'll be the Dave. If Allison has the Allison, that will be the
The
Dave.
Greek.
While we're going to this next story, Dave, could you do me a favor, maybe, and put in that Belgian waffle order for
Done.
us? Thank you so
He's
much.
on his way.
As Dave works the diner here in New Jersey, let's watch our correspondent Hannah Davis. She could visit a diner near you. Today, she pops by the Doodah Diner in Wichita, Kansas.
Doodah Diner.
There is one of the best brunch spots in the entire country. It's been ranked by many publications, and it's right in downtown Wichita. Let's go check it out. Okay, this is day 3. I had to check with my producer, day 3 of our mid-road trip. We have gone from Tulsa now to Kansas. We're in Wichita, and we're heading into one of the best breakfast spots in the entire country. It's called Doodah Diner, and we're gonna eat really good food, and we're gonna ask people one simple question. If you were in charge of the good old US of A, what's the one change you would make if you were in charge for a day? The one change you would make. Let's see what these folks say over some really good biscuits and gravy.
Walking in, pork belly grits, super easy.
Doodah Diner has been ranked as one of the top breakfast spots in the entire country by multiple publications, and you can see why on this customer's face. Patrick Shibley, the owner, says it's all about making things from scratch, doing it the right way. He says this reflects the Midwest work ethic, and this is what he wants customers to feel.
Like they just went home. Like they feel good, they had some good food, they had some good conversation, no matter who it was with, and they just feel good leaving here.
Speaking of good conversation, we decided to ask the good people here, what's the one thing they would change to make the world better?
I think probably our discourse right now, our dialogue between the extremes of one side and another politically. I think there's just a lot of just in the middle that folks aren't realizing that we can connect on, and there just needs to be more inroads for people to make real personal connections to make sure that we know we're more similar than we are different.
Asking a social worker that question, that's really a social worker. Yeah. So that's a really tough question.
You're like, where do I start?
Oh, yeah. I would have to say, as a woman in recovery, really just breaking the stigma of addiction and mental health and making sure people are met where they're at and get services and support.
What does breaking the stigma look like?
It means no longer judging each other, supporting each other, knowing we all have a story and that we're all just trying to get better and do the next right thing.
And what would happen in a world if there wasn't stigma related to addiction?
I feel like that more of us would probably be in recovery. We wouldn't be still stuck out there and dying from this disease.
Thank you for answering that. Okay, now that we've talked to all the fine people here at Doodah about this amazing place and what we can learn from it and how the world can be a better place, now it's time for me to enjoy the food. The perfect mid-breakfast.
That looks delicious. She had a piece of toast on top of the hash browns because you can do that at a diner.
Sure. You can do whatever you want here, my friend.
Doodah Diner.
With bananas and bacon, Kate.
Yes.
Right there.
I'm diving in. Breakfast of Champions. Well, hard to believe, but it's almost, as soon as September rolls around, we think fall foliage, at least I do. I am a leaf peeper and I admit it. I'm not too proud. When we come right back, we're going to look at the hot spots and also the places where the colors could disappoint this year. We'll have that for you. Stay with us. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey. And we are going to switch gears on you and talk a little Christmas. Yes, it's not too early. Ready or not, Lego is already in the holiday spirit. And talking about Christmas, did you know those waffles?
This is how we do it here.
Yes.
On air, don't stop,
The powdered
keep going.
sugar. That
Thanks,
looks
appreciate
amazing.
it.
Thank you.
Oh gosh, that smells good.
I'm going to need a bite of that.
All right,
That
back
looks
to the
incredible.
advent calendars.
Okay. Did you know, I did not, that Lego makes advent calendars? Yes, they do. This year's lineup includes Star Wars, Minecraft, as well as Disney's Frozen. The prices range from $25 to $45, and collectors say the sets often sell out. So they've been doing this for years, well before the holiday season begins. Now, nothing says solemnity, waiting, a moment of zen and peace, which is what the Advent season is all about, like Minecraft.
That's absolutely true. I will tell you this.
Yes.
I would, if you asked me the most innovative company in the world, I would put Lego in the top 5. They are constantly reinventing their products and evolving, and they have their finger on the pulse of not just America, but kids and adults. Collectors around the world. They're one of the most profitable companies. They're constantly growing. What they are doing in the business sector is truly astonishing. Not 2 or 3 companies come to mind that have been just smarter at growing and evolving and changing with the times.
Across generations.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, my kids loved Legos.
Well, in Advent calendars, typically it's a chocolate that you open with each door all the way leading up until Christmas. But I will tell you, there's a lot more pull to getting one of those Legos minifigures. I mean, that's super cool.
That's more exciting than a piece of chocolate.
I may have to give this some thought.
I'm excited about this. Wow.
I love the Advent calendars. It does kind of, it's just a ritual that my kids, even as teenagers, still love.
Yeah, it builds anticipation. And it's very fun.
It's really good.
All right. Are you going to take your first bite?
May I?
Please. I'd love to see it live on camera.
Yeah,
This is what this is all about.
Food on camera, it's always
We're all going to grab a bite of that. But meanwhile, let's talk a little weather. Labor Day is in the rear view mirror. How is it, Jim? He gave the nod. Foliage season is now nearly here. Some areas are expecting brilliant colors. Other areas could be a lot more muted this year. AccuWeather meteorologist Paul Pastelok joins us now with that. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, you all. And we're already, I took a trip just last weekend and I was in New England and I'm already starting to see the trees starting to lighten up. Not that dark green, that light green, and a few trees actually starting to turn a little yellow. So I think the process has already begun.
You know, Paul, I always say anywhere between October 10th to 15th seems to be peak season based on my research. What do you think? What do you think about the timing here, and where do you think we're going to be able to see the best fall foliage this year?
Well, you look at the map that we have here on the screen, the red areas are probably going to be the best viewing areas based on color. You could see the middle of the country. This area so far weather-wise has cooperated. You like to see good amount of moisture during the growing season, late spring and summer. You want less stress on the trees, and if you can avoid drought at all costs, that's the best location. And then as you get into early fall, you like to see drier conditions and also some cooler nights. And this is the area of the country we see all that happening. The only problem is we may have some wind that could knock the leaves down a little early across the north. Even New England, despite some of the dryness we saw in August, we do feel that there should be bright colors that come out. It just may be a shortened season. And if we can avoid any more tropical systems, we had 2 in North Carolina this year. If we can avoid any more down there, they should also have good viewing across the country.
Yeah, it's all about that summer moisture, that summer rainfall that leads to a great fall. You know, I live in the Chicagoland area, and last year cicadas were in. It was the worst cicada, and so our fall was okay. New England was spectacular. What do you think is the best time to head out for a road trip?
Well, I think as you go into late September, I think this year it's a little bit earlier in the Northeast. I think you start going out late September and then travel through October. That's going to be the best time. If you remember back last year, it took a little time to get the leaves starting to turn. And even actually over the last 5 years, it's been a little later. So I think earlier actually may be the best thing in the Northeast. Out here, it's still kind of warm. We're going to still have some warm-ups from time to time. It may be a little bit later than usual for these areas in here. But again, if you look at the overall average that we look at as far as peak time, the red area is in early to mid-October. Southern areas, you're going to have to wait until you get into late October and November.
Big picture, are the temperatures warming that we're seeing, is that threatening the future of fall foliage, not just this season, but down the road?
Absolutely. What happens is that if you extend the warming season and not get those cooler nights, the cooler nights help to trap the sugars that are produced through photosynthesis, light energy changing to chemical energy. Those sugars form in the leaves, and if the warmth is still there, it confuses the trees. And that sugar goes back into the tree, and you don't get the bright colors that those sugars produce. So the warmer the climate is, the longer extent of the summer season, the less brightness that you'll see in the fall foliage in the coming seasons.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. Just talking about fall makes me happy. Just talking about the leaves. I'm that crazy about them.
I'm the other old school, the other school of thought. I'm with Alisyn on this, that I don't like the end of summer. I just want it to last.
Oh, yeah. I'm the opposite.
I love the beginning of fall primarily because what happens tomorrow night? Yes,
Football.
the NFL season returns, so I don't mind that turn to the fall. Cowboys, Eagles open up the regular season on Thursday night. Meanwhile, we may be in the New York metro area, but our mission is to share stories from small town America. Let's take you to rural Georgia, an art gallery like you've never seen before. Here's reporter Chris Knight.
This junkyard turned roadside attraction in Alto, Georgia is an unexpected art gallery. Welcome to the School Bus Graveyard. This mural says game over, but really for these old retired buses, they've taken on a whole new life here. Amazing murals full of colorful details and humor grace the grills, bumpers, hoods, and bodies of old buses and cars. Look at the sun and the stained glass windows. This is neat. Mechanic Walter Wade is the third generation in his family to call the school bus graveyard home.
Yes, it is my home, and it's always been an adventure.
Walter grew up here and remembers when the first school buses came onto the property. They were used to build a fence line to keep thieves out of the junkyard. An artist asked to paint on one of the buses, and the rest is history. Ignore the signs that say "Get Lost" because visitors are welcome to marvel at all the artwork too.
Look at that, that's cool.
As long as you pay the entry fee and obey the rules.
Don't paint on anything, don't break anything. A lot of people love it because they come a long ways to see it because it's never ever the same no matter what time of year you come.
As the saying goes, at the school bus graveyard, one man's junk is another man's masterpiece. In Alto, Georgia, I'm Chris Knight.
The question is, how was that waffle? I mean, with the butter and the syrup, that looked absolutely divine.
Just for the record, I didn't finish it.
Okay, well, how could you? I mean, in the middle of the show?
Yeah, and that's big carb loading for me this hour of the day. I probably made a mistake in not getting some toppings on it.
Some strawberries, fresh, or banana. We have banana right
But
here.
it was delicious.
I would prefer a strawberry, on top of my Belgian waffle.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the NFL season is back.
Yes.
Are you an NFL fan?
Not really. No,
Okay.
I am a football fan, and I went to Notre Dame, so I root for the Irish. Of course, they had a very painful loss this weekend that I did watch.
They did struggle against Miami.
They did.
Yeah,
Yes, it was-
Carson Beck, the new Miami quarterback, looks pretty good. But to me, it just marks the season in which we are now in. And it's Thursday night opener. It's the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles that open it up on a Thursday night. And they do so against probably the most interesting story every year, which is the Dallas Cowboys, because Jerry Jones always likes to meddle. And this year he's traded arguably the best defensive player in all of football and one of the top 5 players in the league. Micah Parsons traded him away. This is a franchise cornerstone type player that really never gets traded because he's in his prime. So when you have a guy achieve that level of accomplishment on the field and he's young, you usually pay him the league rate, but not Jerry. No, not Jerry. He always thinks he's one step
You know
ahead.
what?
So he goes to Green Bay now. And it's going to be a lot of pressure on this offense, on Dak Prescott, to make up for losing this player. I don't think it's going to end well. I think it will be a bit of a dumpster fire in Dallas this year. Sorry to say that to the fans out there. Probably the best fan base in football, Packers, Steelers, Cowboys.
Eagles fans love to hate the Cowboys. I mean,
And they will love this
oh,
Thursday
yeah,
night because
they
I would
will.
guess they would win. Boy, if they stomp the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I think Philly by 20 points perhaps in this opener of the NFL
Are
season.
you part of a fantasy football league? Because you're a former sports guy. I would think you would really have
I'm
a
the
leg
commissioner, actually. Okay, I'm not just part of a league. I am the commissioner. You can refer to me as the commish if you like.
Yeah,
You had a whole
definitely a
weekend
reference.
kickoff, right?
It is a golf tournament leading into a draft on the dock of one of my friends' houses. It is an annual tradition that I cherish.
Yes.
Loser of the league, which is usually the bigger deal when it comes to fantasy than the winner. We draft on the dock. The loser has to jump off of said dock in January into the freezing cold ocean. But now we're getting a little pushback from some of the older league members who are worried that their heart might stop. And I say it's just a jump into the cold ocean.
That's a lame excuse.
Man up.
Yeah.
Have
Did
you ever
you
had
play
to-
fantasy football?
I don't. You asked me that. No, I let others go
Well, you're
off
going to be
into the.
naturally good at it. I would think you would just
Oh,
jump
yeah.
in with both feet.
You were about to ask me if I've ever lost.
Yeah.
No, I mean I am a very good fantasy football
I
player.
can see
Yes,
that. I can
I'm
see
usually
that.
right there at
Yes.
the end of the year. But I love the cold plunge, and I recommend it to anyone out there. I think it is invigorating. It helps you with stress and anxiety. It helps you wake up. I love
I'm right there with you.
the cold plunge.
Yes,
Do you do it?
nervous regulation. And you
Mhm.
can be feeling so nervous. You jump into that water, you get back. Of course, you're hating yourself for a second, and then
Then
this
it's
moment
calming.
of zen.
If you can breathe through
Yes.
it.
Right.
And now the combination of the sauna with the cold
Oh,
plunge
love
is
it.
one of the biggest trends in wellness. And I actually find the sauna better for stress and anxiety than even the cold plunge. I feel that you can, well, at least for me,
But the
sweat
combo.
off
Sweat it all
the
out.
demons, the anxiety, and the
Yes.
stress.
I do hot yoga 3 times a week, and I will tell you, I've never done it and then done a cold plunge. I've done cold plunges separately, but that combination is what they talk about when they talk about wellness.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
terrific.
So
it's great.
you guys do this plunge into the ocean in January.
Off of an elevated dock, and that's been the pushback, is that you jump off of about a 10-foot dock into the freezing cold ocean, and it's that shock value that
You feel
I'm
like you're
getting
in
some pushback.
slow motion as you leave the
Maybe
dock.
walking
I'm sure.
into the water might be better.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, let us know what you think about the cold plunge in fantasy football. But first, a final look at our question of the day. What is your biggest concern when it comes to Congress? They are just now back from an early vacation because they didn't want to have to vote on that top story, the Epstein files. And that's not surprising to me that it's not your top issue. Tariffs are, and they should be, because that impacts all of your wallets and your pocketbooks. But I would tell you, redistricting is something that deserves more focus from the American people. That is politicians choosing their voters as opposed to voters choosing their politicians. And it will spread across the country, well beyond Texas and California in the year ahead.
Our viewers are clearly thinking about their wallets here on Connecting America today with those tariff concerns. If you want to connect with us or follow us, find us all over social media. We are there. We're on Facebook, Instagram. We're on TikTok. All those platforms where you can also find Dave doing all kinds of interesting social
You
media
never
posts.
know. I did
Exactly.
K-pop Demon Hunters yesterday. You never know what I'm talking about on social media today.
And hey, the best of Connecting America also available each day wherever you get your podcast. Type in Connecting America in the search bar. Have a great day, everybody.